Hello, everyone in YouTube. Hopefully, you're all still here. Having some tech difficulties today
Yes,
out
on
of
both
nowhere.
ends.
Yeah, exactly, Megan. You nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having
Exactly.
troubles setting up a new mic that I actually purchased from my good friend Adam. You guys might
Yeah,
know him. Um, but yeah,
that's
having some
me.
technical difficulties there, and then with the YouTube stream.
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet this out again just in case anything changed. So we had some tech issues, but we're finally live. See you there. Okay, let's try that. All right, so I see we've got 5 in chat. I know we got Danny, Megan, Josh is there. I saw a few others before I had to nuke everything. Uh, all right, so we had RFB over there, Vader's Girl, 2med2, Stuart Lugsden. Okay. It's weird. I've got like 2 different chats, and I gotta make sure I get everybody here. All right. Records. So RFB over there, Vader's Girl. Any. All right. You have everybody? All right, we got RFB, we got Vader's Girl back. Nice. Okay, cool. Ugh. Yeah, it's like it's weird. It's like it created a brand new post. I don't know. It's weird.
Huh.
But it used all the same settings because all my all the description's still there. I don't know. We're live. I guess it's all that matters.
That's true.
All right. I'm actually going to delete that first go live tweet so no one gets confused. And all right, we should be good. Hey, what's up, Michael? Glad you found your way over. I'm gonna close that stream because apparently it's broke. And should be ready. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, we're here. We're back. Hi. Hi, everybody.
How we all doing today?
Gotta love
Yeah,
technology when it works.
indeed. Big chat, indeed. We got 11 watching. That's pretty cool. Remember to hit that like button. Share it with your friends. Friends. Always find you. You sound like um forget her name from Wedding Crashers. I'll
Yeah.
find you. All right. So yeah, we got a review today. I saw Michael was talking about Free Fall. It's a fun book. I'm going to stay away from spoilers though, so you can still hang out. We'll just kind of chat about it and let you know what I thought. But yeah, it is a fun book. Let's find out when the release date of that is because I forgot to write that down. August 4th. Okay. Technology is just grand. Indeed. All right. We ready to hit the intro?
Yeah, episode 39, correct?
Indeed. If we would have done this, this is just a weird observation, but uh, if we would have not done this week and done episode 4 and then 5, then episode 40 would have been Empire Strikes Back and its 40th anniversary year, and we screwed it up.
They're
Oh, you're breaking up.
up. Can
You
you hear
back?
me?
can
I
hear you.
am.
I can hear
Can
your
you hear me?
webcam. Well, yeah, I can hear your webcam's lagging a little bit, but it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, today's a weird day with technology.
It's happening again. Sure, it's not my end.
It says I have a good connection here on the Wi-Fi and everything.
Okay, might just be wonderful Xfinity letting us down.
Could be.
All right, well, we'll get through this. It's gonna be one of those days.
Yep.
All right, hitting the intro.
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Hello there, everybody out in the galaxy. This is the From a Certain Point of View podcast, and we are on episode 39. I am Josh.
I'm Adam.
And Adam and I are currently riding in the struggle bus right now as we deal
It's
with
been a rough start to this one.
some technical issues. Please bear with us if you're live in our chat right now on YouTube or if you're listening later. We don't know what's going to happen in this episode because
this is a gamble.
Technology is just not working out today. But anyway, we're going to try to get through this whole, see if we can get through this whole show.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what have you been playing this week?
Say that again.
What have you been watching and playing this week?
I've been doing a lot of reading this week. I read Poe Dameron Freefall. We're going to talk about that later, but I read that in about 3 days. So that's it's pretty fast for me as far as reading goes. But I enjoyed that a lot, and that was my main Star Wars stuff. I started watching last night The Last Dance on Netflix, the Bulls documentary.
Love that. Oh, that's the documentaries I've seen.
Yeah, I'm on episode 4 right now, and I'm enjoying it a lot. The only little complaint I have is I kind of wish it would just be chronological and not bounce back and forth.
Right. Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's really good. So that was kind of the height of my basketball fandom days, or the Bulls teams, and then I really dropped off after that. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. What about you?
Yeah, well, to go along with that, I hear you. I mean, back in my elementary and high school days, I was a big NBA fan, and I was,
Okay.
I loved the Bulls team, but then I kind of transitioned into the Lakers. Maybe I just followed Phil Jackson. I don't know, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love The Last Dance. I think it's one of the best docu-series out there, especially when it comes to sports, and definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, I've been watching Ozark. Actually, I got into Ozark and started binging that. And if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, it's, which I am. I think it's a great show, and it deals a lot with the money laundering aspect of the drug cartel.
Okay.
And as well, and it's more of like just a family drama too. That's kind of the core of the show, I would say, is the family drama stuff. So I've really been enjoying that, and I also started watching.
By family drama, you mean that it's a drama about the family in the show and not really a family friendly drama, right?
No, it's not Full House.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You don't want to watch this one with the kids.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, before someone out there
so
listening says, "Oh, this is a great family show," and sits down, and
no,
it's
no,
not a
no,
family show. Abort, abort.
no. Yeah, it's definitely not a family show. But as far as family shows go and family
Mhm.
movies, I was also watching The Rise of Skywalker again, just because
Oh,
I
nice.
felt like it. And it's the newest Star Wars movie out there, so I wanted to revisit that again, and
That
I've
it
been
is.
enjoying that
That
as
is true.
well. Yeah, but
Can
yeah,
confirm.
that's about it for me. Yeah.
Awesome. So we
Actually
have a poll.
noticed we did have a poll this week. Yeah. So let's take a look at that poll on Twitter. And we were doing our deep dive into the theories of Revenge of the Sith, and the poll question was, which is your favorite planet featured in Revenge of the Sith? So the options were Mustafar, Utapau, Felucia, and Kashyyyk, which I misspelled, I think, on
Did you
there.
do 2 Ys or
But
3 Ys?
I did 3 Ys, but I forgot the H.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's I thought you would have got hung up on the Ys instead of the H.
I was so focused on getting those
The
Y's
Y.
correct that I just completely forgot about the H in there.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll
but there's a
happen.
lot of planets. There's a lot of planets featured in Revenge of the Sith, and I had to
Mhm.
narrow it down to 4. Um, I went with Utapau, but Utapau was not the winner. Mustafar was the winner at 37%. Following closely behind that was Kashyyyk with 34%, then Utapau with 20%, and Felucia at 9%.
Nice. I actually went with Mustafar on that one. I love I love every planet that's featured in there, but I mean Mustafar just it's hung around, I guess, more. It was nice to see it later in Rise of Skywalker.
Hmm.
It became part of the lexicon for me, I guess. So that's where I went with that vote.
Yeah, it's a cool planet. Again, we've talked before about the world building.
Hmm.
Um, that George Lucas is such a craftsman of, and does such a fantastic job. So a lot of good options out there.
Indeed. So this week's show, episode 39, like I said last week, we're taking a little bit of a break from Thank the Maker. So we're going to do the first part of the psychology of Anakin Skywalker, and since we've done episodes 1 through 3, the prequels, we're going to just take a look at his psychology as it stands right now, at that point in time, after episode 3. So, really we're kind of looking at ultimately his fall, what led to that, what he's been through in his life that, would kind of push him to that decision. But before that, first up, we have news, and we got some interesting news this week. Some TV news, maybe some video game stuff. Even a little bit of High Republic stuff came out this week, so we got some interesting news.
Hmm.
And then after the news, we're going to review Poe Dameron Freefall, which we got a chance to read. That comes out August 4th, so we're going to tell you what we thought about it. That's going to be a spoiler-free review. So if you haven't read it, um, you can not have to fast forward. You can just hang out. We'll just talk about what we thought about it, what I enjoyed about it. But I won't give away any major surprises or plot details. So you can hang around and listen to that if you would like. So, but without any further ado, if you're ready, we can jump into the news.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
So Ahsoka nailed it with the news, and this could be bad news from a certain point of view. Um, and I think it's the biggest confirmed news of the week, because we got a lot of rumors floating out there
yeah,
too. But
right.
that Disney via Variety has officially revealed that the release dates for the next batch of Star Wars movies will shift from the Decembers of 2022, 2024, and 2026 to 2023, 2025, and 2027. So they're all getting bumped back a year.
Yep.
I have opinions about this that might not be the same as yours. But
Okay.
what are your thoughts on this before we get into mine?
I was just kind of expecting it, just for a few reasons. A, because of, definitely because of COVID, but then B, because we haven't heard anything about these for so long. We were
Hmm.
supposed to get some news in January, I think. There was that rumor floating around that some news would be coming out in January. Nothing happened. They separated from what's their faces from Game of Thrones.
Benioff and Weiss.
Yeah, they separated from them, so um, there's some things to me that were kind of pointing towards a delay. So I really wasn't upset about it. And then also with that, there's going to be a lot of Star Wars stuff still coming out. We definitely still getting the Mandalorian in October. Um,
Hmm.
we're getting Bad Batch next year. So I mean, there's still going to be new Star Wars content. Say that again because
Yeah.
of my phone. There's still going to be some new Star Wars content, and I don't know. I was expecting it. It's a bummer, yeah. But
Hmm.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And like I was
Yeah.
kind of saying, I mean, it gives us the chance. It gives them the chance to focus on their TV universe too, for an extra
Hmm.
year. So I think that's good. So
For sure. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely bummed by this news. I'm just going to go ahead and say it just because, that's 4 years now feels like a long time between Star Wars movies.
yeah, it does now.
You know,
Right.
now because when Disney acquired Lucasfilm and everything, the first thing we heard was we're going to have Star Wars movies every year in the future. And, while we did
Say
get
that
that,
again. Say that again. You're breaking up a bit.
okay. Um, I mean, they when Disney first acquired Lucasfilm, the we kind of heard that we were going to get new movies every year for the foreseeable future, and now we're not getting that, and but it's just kind of a bummer that it's a long wait in between, and I really blame Avatar because several years ago I said with Disney they're going to acquire Fox and everything, and they got at Animal Kingdom they have Pandora and everything. Avatar is going to affect Star Wars in the future. I knew it would, and I do believe that if Avatar wasn't coming out, we would probably get Star Wars a little bit sooner, maybe 2022 or something like that. But plus, you had the whole situation with Benioff and Weiss that kind of messed things up too, because I think they would have been on track for a quicker release of another Star Wars film. But like you said,
Maybe. I mean,
there's a lot of
yeah.
there's a lot of stuff coming through on Disney Plus to look forward to. I'm just bummed about not getting that movie experience for another 3.5
Yeah,
years.
yeah, maybe. I mean, we're almost in August right now, and there's really not much going on with production anywhere yet.
Hmm.
So we're getting close to that, where if it's going to come out in December 2022, regardless of anything else that's happening, it's going to be a tight squeeze, I think, to get all the filming done. And not only that, if they're still, Taika Waititi just said he's starting to write his script now.
Yeah.
I think that came out this past week too. So I mean, if let's say that his movie is the next one up, 2023, and if he's just starting to write his script now, um, that's going to take some time, and then there's going to have to be some drafting and redrafting until we get a final script on that. And then we get to start shooting, and then we have an editing process which can take months, year or more. It'd be tight. So
Yeah. I think the real issue is that they didn't really know what to do after the sequel trilogy. Like they've been uncertain about where they want to take Star Wars next when it comes to the films.
I think that's
So I think that's the bigger issue here.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I think that's really what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So anyhow, moving on to our next bit of news here, we have some TV news as far as rumors go. One of the rumors is Donald Glover will be returning as Lando in his own Disney Plus series. So this is coming from. Let me take a look here. Noah Outlaw says
Noah, from
a tweet sent out
Castle
by
Rock.
Noah Outlaw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who says we can finally announce that Donald Glover will be reprising his role as Lando in a future Star Wars series. What do you guys think of this news? So I didn't realize that they were able to announce such things. I thought this announcement would come from Star Wars, but
I think what he's saying there is that he has enough sources at that point to be confident in putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have a pretty good track record. They kind of broke the Bad Batch stuff before it happened. So they have a pretty good track record on this thing, and like I said, I think him saying announce it is just him saying that they have enough confidence in it at this point.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, they're not the ones announcing this for Lucasfilm, so this is still rumored to me at this point. But
yeah, and I do take all rumors with a big grain of Anakin's favorite type of sand. And as far as that goes, but would I be excited about a Lando Disney Plus series? I would be, but like I was telling you earlier in the week, I'd rather almost have like an ensemble series as far as a solo sequel goes. Have Han and Chewie in there, have Lando in there, Kira, Maul. I mean, especially if you were going to have the series be ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned if it's just a mini series, then maybe you can focus on Crimson Dawn in one series, Lando in one series, Han and Chewie in one series. But I like the idea of it
while we're
being an
talking
ensemble.
about this, since this all kind of wraps in together, let's talk about this other news article too, and then just do this all at once. But the other rumor that came out this week was that there'd be a Darth Maul. First of all, our Darth Maul series, but then also that he would appear in multiple other shows as well, live action on Disney Plus. The speculation is, like you said, that would kind of is that his series would kind of focus on Crimson Dawn and that Kira would be involved. And like you said, like you were saying, I don't. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I'm not excited for a Darth Maul show. Darth Maul has been around. He's done so much. He's been in everything. I don't mind him having cameos and appearing in other shows, but I'd almost rather, if this is happening, I'd almost rather this be a Kira show with appearances by Darth Maul, something like that. Something that focuses on her. Or like you said, have a series where they all play a part,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately I'd rather have that, just because I think it's just more, in my opinion, it's more kind of appealing to. I don't know how much focus. I don't know how much
say
you
that
can
again.
do
You
with.
cut out totally there.
Okay.
Right, what you're saying, I don't know.
Oh, how much you can do with a series if you're just focusing in on one. Because and I'm seeing in the chat, 2med2 saying the plan is to do it like Netflix did with the Marvel shows. Jessica and Daredevil, everything. So if that's what they're referring to with the Netflix Marvel shows.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the end, that didn't really work, because I think there's and maybe if it's better executed, it could work. But I think you can do more with having an ensemble that you can continue on doing for multiple seasons, but that's just
I
my
don't know
opinion.
why the Marvel stuff didn't work.
Right. Love
I don't.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
I didn't really get into the other ones, but I did love
I
Daredevil.
I don't know. I don't know if it had something to do with the Disney ownership and that type of stuff. I don't know, but um, they also went. So I'll say this: they also went to a pretty dark place with all those Marvel shows on Netflix,
Hmm.
and I think maybe that's why they didn't really fit into the universe as a whole.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, they were definitely darker in tone.
tonally
Yeah.
they were very very different. So I
Hmm.
don't know that you'd have that problem necessarily with Disney Plus shows, staying at a PG-13 or lower level. So kind of fits in the Star Wars tone, I guess.
Right.
So
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if we get actual confirmation. I mean, again, I'm sure these sources are trustworthy, but I always take it as a rumor until it's officially announced.
yeah, definitely. And even if they are trustworthy, and even if this stuff is out there right now and it's being talked about behind the scenes and it's really in planning, these things
Mhm.
fall apart sometimes, so
Yeah, sometimes we don't
it,
actually end
it
up getting
could.
it.
I mean, this could be very real, and you know, it could, plans change. So
Yep. Um, yeah, the only other thing I think, and I'm not going to speculate on anything today concerning Ray Park just because I don't have all the information. But it could the whole situation going on with him right now could complicate things for Darth Maul being involved as well, unless they
mm,
recast or something like that. But
yeah, I mean, we already recast Ahsoka, and you have
hmm
Sam Witwer that could do it. I mean,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I
So
don't see
we'll
that
see
as a
what
huge
happens.
stumbling block. So
Now we're going to dive into some gaming news,
yeah,
and IGN kind of gave their hands-on preview, their hands-on impressions of Squadrons. There's a YouTube video that shows some there. If you want to check that on IGN's YouTube page, and I'm just going to pull a few quotes from their first impressions. That basically the headline reads that Star Wars Squadrons hands-on preview narrow but deep like the trench run. And some other quotes I pulled out here. We have um, the reviewer saying, "I was a little surprised that I couldn't interact with my droid." Um, so yeah, I guess that I know the one of the big things behind Squadrons is you're in the cockpit, and I'm gonna have to get used to that first person view versus being outside of the ship because I'm so used to, like, with Battlefront, having that third person view, seeing my ship instead of being in the cockpit. So
yeah,
that's something I think I'm gonna have to get used to with that.
yeah.
Um,
I can understand that.
if you know,
Hmm.
um, Another quote here was the star of the show when it comes to multiplayer is the fleet battle, an epic sweeping match that plays out in multiple phases. And I do think that the battle looks really interesting in its approach with the multiple phases that play out in that game mode. And then see if there's anything else here. Basically, he just, and I know he talked about how Squadron's kind of being reminiscent of Rogue Squadron from back in the day and everything as well. So, and Adam, did you pull anything out of these impressions that interested you?
No, I mean, it's just kind of a basic hands-on. I'm glad that they're saying it's a deep experience because I know that there's some fears out there about it, just basically being this stripped down Battlefront with just the just the fighter squadron mode. But it sounds like there's a lot more to it than just that. So happy to hear that they think that it's a deep experience. So
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to playing that game when it comes out for sure. And finally, in some book-related news and book and comic-related news, we have two Jedi Master Sword in the High Republic era. Um, from StarWars.com, they released an exclusive look at two Jedi, and we have the first one is Skier, I believe, who's a Trandoshan Jedi.
Yeah. It's
And
thick.
Kevin Scott said that Skier plays a major role in the Marvel Comics ongoing and is an absolute right. He's a opinionated tradition who has been around the block more times than he cares to remember. So that's a bit on
Yeah.
Skier.
Yeah, I'm excited about Skier. He looks pretty cool. He's not your typical
Yeah.
Trandoshan. He's a thick boy Trandoshan.
Yeah, not your typical Jedi either. So I
No,
think that
right,
will be
right,
interesting.
right.
And then we have Avar Chris,
Yeah,
who's been introduced before as the best of the
right.
best, and is very
Mhm.
much affected by the cataclysm we've been promised will open up this new era. So we have
I am very interested
images of
about
the
the
characters.
Santeca clan.
Yeah,
So maybe get some history
yeah,
on Lord Santeca and where he comes from and what he's all about. So I know we've gotten that in some comics and things like that, but it'll be neat to explore that history and see where that legacy comes from.
yeah. I mean, ever since watching The Force Awakens,
Yeah.
I've been interested in Lord Santeca and and what his deal is, in terms of
Yeah,
his relationship with Luke Skywalker and the Jedi.
yeah.
So definitely interesting. But I think that wraps it up for our new segment this week, and we're ready to review Freefall.
My disappointment in your performance cannot be overstated.
So I remember back when Free Fall was announced, and I really had two main questions that came into my mind when this announcement came out. First of all, I remember there being a lot of discussion after Rise of Skywalker about what exactly is Poe's backstory. Because it had been established in some books and some comics mainly. That he was a New Republic pilot turned Resistance, and that was kind of his story. But then, Rise of Skywalker seemed to retcon that a little bit, and give him that Spice Runner background. So I wanted to see if it kind of made those two gel together a little bit. And then I also just want to know, is this a fun story? Is this a fun Poe story? Because really, that's the more important of the two questions. So, getting that first one out of the way, for me personally, I think that Poe's backstory is just fine. That to be honest with you, after Rise of Skywalker, I didn't see why that couldn't be a little bit of both. I don't see why he couldn't have been a Spice Runner for a bit before doing anything New Republic or Resistance related. Really,
Absolutely.
and that's what it kind of comes down to is that this takes place when he's about 16 years old, give or take, and we don't pick up with him again in on film until he's in his 30s. So, uh, in his spice running days in this book, I mean, we're talking months, not even a year, I don't believe, if I was reading all that right. So and there's plenty of time for that stuff to all gel together and for there to be no, continuity overlaps or anything like that. So as far as I'm aware, for me, it's perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy with how that all turned out. But then getting down to the important stuff, is this a fun book? And for me, the answer is definitely yes. Remember that this is actually a young adult novel, so I think sometimes some of it feels a little bit, some of the plot stuff feels a little bit convenient. Some of the dialogue maybe feels a little bit simple. But like I said, it's not. It's for people that are 20 years younger than me at this point. So any complaints like that, that's for me. For me, I think that's a little. That's just because of the genre that it's written in, which is perfectly fine. So
Well, I'll probably love it then because I love the young adult
yeah,
novels and
so do I. So do I.
and I love when reading those. I feel like I can get through it more quickly. The pace is
Yeah.
a little quicker with those young adult novels and everything.
Yeah, same here. And like I said at the top of the show, I got through this in about 3 days. And I was really
Mhm.
pushing to get through it in 3 days. I'd kind of forgot about it, and I wanted to review it, before our time expired with it. But yeah, I pushed through it pretty quick. It was a pretty easy read, but it was a fun read. Uh, I had a blast with the story. So to give you a little bit of an idea of what happens in the story, like I said, this is going to be spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about fast forwarding or turning us off for a bit. But it basically starts with a restless Poe on Yavin 4. Wants to break free of things that he feels is holding him back. So his mother at this point, Shara Bey, is dead, and he misses her a lot. He's flying her A-wing that she taught him how to fly. He does end up wrecking that at the very beginning of the book, and that kind of sends him on this course. But his father then, Poe Dameron, is pretty overprotective. He's already lost his mother at this point, and he doesn't want to lose his son too. So but Poe being 16 years old, he has a lot of difficulty dealing with that. So he ends up setting out. Just so happens that the Spice Runners stop on Yavin 4, on their way passing through, and he hooks up with them and sets off with them. So what we get after that is a pretty fun series of close calls, uh, encounters with other pirates and gangs, criminal organizations, and then you also have the New Republic kind of barreling down on their tail as well. Along the way, of course, Poe meets Zori Bliss, and this really ends up being their story. It's
Yeah,
definitely
I was
about Poe.
wondering if she was. I was
She's
wondering if
a
she was going to be involved in
she's a
this.
major character. She's definitely a major character in this book. And I thought it was really well done. Gives a lot of context to their meeting in Rise of Skywalker. So with Poe coming back to Kijimi, you find out why that's such a big deal.
Mhm.
Why Zori feels the way she does when they first meet in that movie. So I thought that the way that was written was really perfectly done, and it tied into the Rise of Skywalker perfectly. It gives me enough of a backstory there that I think it's great. And then not only Zori, but we do see some other characters like Babu Frick is in this book, which is fun. The comic fans will remember Lulo Lampar, who's the Duros friend of Poe. We stop on the planet Sorgan, which you'll remember from The Mandalorian, which is a lot of fun.
Mhm.
We get to see a little cameo by the Guavian Death Gang from Force Awakens.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot of
Nice.
fun little things like there. And I'll tell you, the one thing that I kept thinking about in this book was that it feels a lot like Solo. Uh, it has that coming of age tale, like Poe and Han in those stories. So it has that coming of age tale. And it has that compelling love story actually with Zori and Poe. And then you
Mhm.
also have all this stuff going on with pirates and smugglers and criminal gangs and all this other stuff. So I think if you enjoyed what Solo was as a film, I think you'll also enjoy this story for Poe, because it's kind of similar. A lot of similar beats, I think. So
Yeah. Awesome.
my only
I'm
real
I'm looking
complaints
forward to
about the
reading it.
yeah, I think you'll like it. I think it's pretty
Mhm.
much right up your alley. My only real complaints about it are little tiny nitpicky stuff, and that's a good sign. That just means that there's not much to really complain about yet.
Mhm.
Um, Things like the Spice Runners. The name of their gang is just the Spice Runners of Kijimi, so it's not very creative or
Not very
threatening at that
creative.
point. It's basically like,
Yeah.
who are they and where are they
Mhm.
from, and that's their name.
Mhm.
So when you contrast that with things like the Pike Syndicate or the Hutt Empire or
Yeah.
even the Guavian Death Gang
Yeah.
that shows up,
Mm-hmm.
Spice Runners of Kajimi just feels a little
Jimmy.
bland. Um,
Yeah.
Babu Frick in this book, I love seeing him there, but he speaks basic pretty good in this book, and I didn't pick that up from him in The Rise of
Mm.
Skywalker. I felt like there's a little more translating going involved from
Yeah,
translating from his Anzellan.
for
But he
sure.
speaks pretty good basic in this book, so I understand why, and it's not. I think it's necessary. It's easier to read, especially for
Mm-hmm.
the audience.
Sure.
So it is what it is. But like I said, with things like that, those are really my only little nitpicks with this book. So I enjoyed it a lot. I think, like I said before, if you're looking for something that's just a fun ride, easy read, I would suggest picking this up. It comes out August. So this is Poe Dameron Freefall. Comes out August 4th. So it's just a couple, like 10 days from now, give or take. And written by Alex Segura. So you can check that out pretty soon.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for giving us a little preview of that one and your review, Adam.
Yeah,
We
no
appreciate it.
problem.
And we are now ready to look at the psychology of Anakin Skywalker.
My disappointment in your performance cannot be overstated.
So today, in our latest Psychology of segment, we're looking at the character of Anakin Skywalker in the prequel trilogy. And I guess for me, the big question that came to my mind when thinking about this character is what caused him to fall to the dark side? What were those kind of psychological elements that pushed him to the dark side? Because the Anakin we meet in the Phantom Menace is very much kind of this innocent boy who's very kind and very caring, and we see that somewhat in Attack of the Clones, even though you start to see those dark tendencies coming up and everything. Um, but I think George Lucas even commentaries when we were looking at those commentaries for the prequels, he was saying how he wanted to show um, how somebody that's on that side of the spectrum that's very kind and very caring and innocent can go to the dark side, so in that contrast. So, and when thinking about the psychology of Anakin Skywalker, normally I'm not really big on focusing on diagnoses or labels or anything, because I think everybody experiences things differently, and um, I have my own opinions about those kind of things. I mean,
Right.
but but everyone, I try not to get too caught up in there. But when thinking of Anakin, I thought what came to my mind first was uh, a- adjustment disorder. So basically, an adjustment disorder is when you have some big event in your life that happens, and maybe it's the loss of somebody close to you, or maybe it's some type of accident, or um, anything like that can, maybe it's a health problem, and it can lead to anxiety and feelings of depression and trouble sleeping and all these other symptoms. Somebody has a hard time adjusting to this new way of life. It could be a divorce or something like that. Um, so I wanted to look at things that Anakin has had to adjust to in his life, these big life events that were really impactful. Um, and number one, from the get-go, he doesn't have a father.
Right.
And I think that's a big one, and we can look at that. We know that in our world, people who have an absent parent or don't have a parent there for whatever reason, can sometimes struggle with things, and sometimes have it a little harder than people who maybe have both of their parents. So
Yeah.
that's one thing right off the bat that
And not only
Anakin
that, but
struggled with.
once he definitely doesn't have a father, but then once he meets Qui-Gon, who kind of becomes a little bit of a father figure for a very little bit of time, is ripped away from him pretty quick.
Hmm. That's true. That's a good point. So he almost immediately loses Qui-Gon,
Yeah, right.
and And also in the Phantom Menace, we see that he had to leave his mom to join the Jedi Order. So of course this is something that's kind of required of all Jedi, but Anakin was a little older
Yeah,
than
right.
most younglings that are trained and everything.
Yeah.
So he's go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say he's at that age where that's gonna be a little more painful, I think, It seems
Hmm.
like younglings were really taken from their parents at a much younger age, when
Hmm.
uh, you know, I think later in life it would have been easier to, I don't want to say forget that or, repress it. That's not what I'm saying. It's like it would be easier to move on in life, I guess. So, but with him
Yeah, I
being
mean
8 or 9 years old at that point, that's a pretty impressionable time, I think.
right. No doubt. And, he obviously has this very close attachment with his mother, and they've had to he's grown up being a slave with his mom and them having to rely on each other and everything. Um, so I think that was a big life event too that he had to adjust to. And then we have, 10 or so years later in Attack of the Clones, he's having these dreams about it, about his mom dying, you know um and losing his mom and everything. So that is, he's obviously having trouble sleeping and showing that kind of thing, and having that to deal with. But he
Hmm.
I think this fear begins to build inside of him, this fear of loss, which Yoda speaks about. I think in Revenge of the Sith, fear of loss is kind of a path to the dark side. Um, and then in Revenge of the Sith, continuing with that, after he loses his mom, and we start to see that darkness rising in him when he takes out all of the Sand People and the women and the children too, is his words. Um, and he goes into that whole, they're animals and I slaughtered them like animals and I hate them.
Right.
And so we see that building within him. And then
A
in
lot of
Revenge of
death
the Sith,
for
he
him.
has vision. Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we'll get into more of that, but yeah, a lot of deaths so far, even just for
Mhm.
you know being 16 at that point or whatever.
For sure. And then in Revenge of the Sith, he starts to have visions of Padme dying in childbirth as well. So I think he's just having a hard time adjusting to all these things and all these major life events, and all these events lead to fear, basically. Um, and we know that Yoda again says fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to the dark side.
Hmm.
So I think that message is at the center of Anakin's turn. So we start with fear. So how did Anakin display feelings of fear throughout the prequel trilogy?
Well, I mean, for me, easy examples: Revenge of the Sith, being so afraid of his dream about Padme, that he is not willing to
Mhm.
stop until he can allay that fear somehow.
Yeah, I think the game, and then
You
ultimately
might, might have to
fearing losing
might have to say
Padme.
that again.
Okay. I think it started with his fear about losing his mom and losing her, and then his fear of losing Padme as well. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so
for sure.
fear, when we're afraid, sometimes that can lead to anger. It can come out as anger. So how does Anakin display anger throughout the prequels? Is kind of the next
Ooh,
question.
how doesn't he display anger?
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. It's starting in episode 2. I can't think of where he ever really gets angry as a kid in
No,
episode
not
1.
really.
But
Hmm.
starting episode 2, slaughtering the Sand People, and then uh, I mean, it's just the uh, the Jedi Council chamber not being made a master.
Hmm. Yep.
Very angry at that. There's a lot of little things. And then I think Clone Wars expanded on all that very well. So He's always
Yeah, I mean,
walking that
I
line between anger and impatience and imprudence and all
mhm.
that stuff. So
And when I think of him being angry too, I also think about him, saying about being angry with Obi-Wan.
right,
Even
yeah,
though he loves him like a brother, as a master, he says it's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back. Um, those kind of things,
hmm
and just that frustration he has with Obi-Wan not allowing him to move forward, kind of in his training and everything. Um, so I think there's obviously many examples of anger, and then of course anger leads to hate, and he talks about hating the Sand People,
oh yeah,
and
yeah, right.
um, and
Or hating
I mean
Obi-Wan.
any other hate, yeah,
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 yeah.
he screams, "I hate you" at
That's
him,
he's
you know.
yeah, right. He's already given into the dark side at that point. But yeah, he spews that "I hate you" at Obi-Wan.
hmm hmm So fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to the dark side. So Yoda very much with his quote kind of foreshadowed in a way that, although I'm not remembering right now when exactly he used that quote, um, but it's really much, if you it's a microcosm of what happens to Anakin. I mean, it's like he spelled out exactly what happened to Anakin and how he turned to the dark side,
Yeah.
starting with fear. Um, so I guess my next question that came up was, what do you think is the ultimate catalyst that leads to Anakin's turn? Like, because there's one event that comes to my mind that really leads to his turn, because he could still have been a bit angry and maybe not have turned to the dark side. You know, so for me, it was the opera scene that
Okay.
was the catalyst, because Palpatine is explaining to him how to alleviate his fear. He's talking about Darth Darth Plagueis.
Yeah. Right.
Um, he became so powerful that he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying. So he's he planted that seed because he knew Anakin's fear, and he preyed upon that fear of losing Padme, basically saying, if this is your first step towards the dark side, you're not going to learn this from a Jedi. You have to turn to the dark side, basically, to learn how to keep this person from dying, how to save
Right.
Padme. And ultimately, him turning to the dark side is probably what actually kills Padme. Um,
Well, it
which is
seems that
very
in your
there's
anger, you killed her.
right. And even though he didn't directly do that, didn't directly kill her, as Sidious is once again just lying to Anakin, because not only he didn't directly kill her, but also he couldn't save her by turning to the dark side. It was this promise of this power that didn't maybe even really exist. He was manipulating him.
Right. I
Um,
want to go to the chat for a
so,
couple things. So Cam Ray says, although
hmm
not canon, he just finished reading Darth Plagueis, the novel, and
hmm
in it, Palpatine intentionally chooses to take a father figure place in Anakin's life as soon as Qui-Gon was killed. And
hmm yeah,
yeah. So as far as that book is not canon anymore, but I would argue that scenario is still what happened.
yeah, for
Uh,
sure. Because
so
even
he
at the
kind of
end of the
snakes
Phantom
his
Menace,
way.
he's like,
Yeah, so he kind of snakes
"We'll
his
be,
way into
I'll be
that, right?
watching your career with interest."
hmm
hmm
And then
Yeah,
Chris King says not allowing him on the council was a big catalyst. He thinks, which is interesting because
yeah. I mean, I think
that's a
that.
moment that really trips not only his anger but his vanity and his pride. And
hmm
that was a huge moment for him. I think it was him being slighted by the Jedi. So I think if there's anything that comes up later after that, where he can maybe start to question the Jedi's intentions, that seed has already been planted at that point. So that's a good point.
And that is actually a great segue into my next question, which was, by the end of Revenge of the Sith, from Anakin's point of view, the Jedi are evil. Um,
Right.
and basically, Palpatine manages to convince a lot of the galaxy that the Jedi are evil, and they came up with this plot to kill him and everything. And so, how did Anakin's point of view become the Jedi are evil? So one of those things is him not being on the council but not being given the rank of master.
Right.
You
Right.
know, um,
Oh, so I think I think I have to mention here that at this point Anakin's vision's already clouded, uh, because
hmm
of everything that's happened. But then also he's given himself over to the dark side. So
right.
he's uh he's left. To put it in my The Last Dance, he's left the Bulls.
hmm
He's not on that team anymore. He's on the Lakers now, or the
hmm
Pistons, I guess. So he's
Yeah.
switched sides. So once you
Right.
do that, you're kind of subscribing to that to a different dogma. Where he's breaking away from one dogma, but he's subscribing to the other. So he kind of, I think, has to take that point of view.
Yeah, you're right. And Obi-Wan talks about the Sith dealing in absolutes.
Right.
Um, and so once Anakin especially commits the unforgivable acts that he does when he kills the younglings and everything like that, when he takes that step, um, he almost, like you said, has to adopt that philosophy that the Jedi are evil,
Right.
and that somehow the Sith and Palpatine is going to bring peace to the galaxy.
Yeah. So he's
So,
at that point, like, yeah, he's subscribed to that, so
mhm,
he has to kind of,
right.
that's his point of view now. So, but then,
hmm
but then, like Chris said, that not being given that rank of master was a huge start to that, I think. So,
Right. Yeah, and I feel like even like Mace Windu constantly like kind of questioned Anakin, um, he questioned the prophecy. He doubted Anakin all along and everything.
flat
And
out told
sure, I
him,
mean
he flat out told him, he didn't trust him unless this tip about Palpatine turned out to be true.
right.
You
Then
know,
you will have gained my trust.
yeah. So if
Yeah.
this is true, then I'll
Um,
trust you, but I don't right now. So,
right. So I don't think that helped either in
yeah.
Anakin's ultimate view of the Jedi Council. So
Yep. And then there's this
yeah.
little thing where he goes to Yoda for advice about, Padme dying, and Yoda's advice is to just let her go.
Right. Yeah.
So I think,
Let go of everything you fear to lose. And
so while that
um,
advice might be wise in its own way, I think with everything combined and how everything stacks up against each other, that sounds like Yoda doesn't want to help. That Yoda's fine with
yeah.
her dying.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
that
And it kind of
you
becomes
twist that
like
around, then yeah,
unhelpful.
yeah, right. You twist that around, and then you can make that sound different in your own mind. I think that can happen with Anakin at the end of that too. So
hmm Absolutely. So, do you have any final thoughts on the psychology of Anakin? Anything that we didn't get around to or didn't discuss?
yeah, I mean, so at this point in the prequels, I mean, it's a tragedy. It's a failing of a lot of people around him to help him. Um, it's a failing of his own design too. I mean, he has to have some
hmm
blame in this too.
Yeah.
Um, but then, like I said, it's a tragedy. There's that tear that he sheds after he's killed everybody, and that's saying something too. George said that's in there because he regrets what he's done, but he feels he can't turn back at this point. That there's no other answer than to keep going forward. Um,
Yeah.
and then I loved what you picked out there about having the adjustment disorder, about not being able to handle these things in his life. Uh,
hmm
And there's always talks about, if Qui-Gon were there, would these things have happened still? And I think I think you still have to take into account that Anakin, Anakin's makeup, Anakin's thought process doesn't change with this stuff. He's still dealing with things like his mother dying or not having a father, uh, Padme possibly dying, that type of stuff. So I mean, he's still dealing with these things, and he still doesn't have the. I think he still at that point doesn't have the ability to really get over these things, and that pain
Right.
coalesces into what he does.
And I think on top of that, there's all this expectation with this prophecy of him being the chosen one, and he has all this power. He keeps being told that he has the power to. Palpatine says you have the power to become the greatest of all Jedi. So I think there's that kind of added
Qui-Gon
pressure
believed in that
as
too, and I
well.
think he would have added even more pressure to that.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, I like how you said that it's a tragedy. It really is like this tragic story. The prequels are this basically tragedy of not only how a good person falls to the dark side, and like you said, that tear represents his regret, and he didn't. I don't think he ever wanted to end up on the dark side. I
Right.
think he just wanted to save Padme, and that
Yeah.
was his main motivation. And he was willing to do whatever it took to save her, but ultimately the tragedy is she dies still.
Right.
And it's because he turned to the dark side. But also it's this tragedy of how a republic turns into an empire, and Palpatine being this grand master of evil of all that too. So
Yeah.
it's very much a tragic story. And it also made me think of Ben Solo, when he is still Kylo Ren in Rise of Skywalker. He's talking to Rey on the old Death Star and saying that he can't go back to his mom now. He's gone too far to the dark side that he can't
Yeah.
go back
Yeah.
to her. And but ultimately he discovers that he can. And I think the next time we look at the psychology of Anakin Skywalker, it's going to be that redemption story that we get to
Yeah.
eventually. So, but I think that about wraps it up for the psychology of Anakin Skywalker. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. I know we enjoyed talking about it.
I'm just glad you're here. At the end.
I did indeed enjoy talking about that. So I hope you all enjoyed episode 39 as a whole. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Say thank you real quick to Cam Ray. He's heading out, so I'm going to say thanks before he left. But we also had Stuart Lugsden, Michael from 2Med2, Megan Rickards from the From an Autistic Point of View blog, Roar Farm Boy, Vader's Girl, Semper Vi, Danny, Darth Papa Bear, Stephen Miller, Alberto from Radio Rebellion, and Chris King, all joining us in chat today. Big day in chats. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We really appreciated it. Remember to subscribe to the podcast if you're just watching live or listening later. If you're on a platform like iTunes that lets you leave a review, please do that. That helps us reach more people. Helps us, helps more people find what we're about here. Helps us know what you guys like, what segments you guys like, so we can kind of throw more of those into the mix. So yeah, make sure you leave us a review. That helps us a lot. Check out the website from a certain point of view.com. We've had a couple blog articles. I'm going to be putting up a Poe Dameron Freefall review later today, now that we've talked about it on the show. So that'll be on the blog as well. Our socials are Twitter, a certain POV pod. Facebook is From a Certain Point of View. Discord server links are in the show notes and on the website as well. Email is certainpovpod@gmail.com. And we are hosted by Anchor.fm, where you can leave us a 60-second voicemail. You can ask us a question, leave us a comment about what you think on the psychology of Anakin Skywalker. If you're listening to a past show and want to leave a comment on those or have a question, let us know. We'd love to play that voicemail on the show. Remember to check out the Red 5 Network, red5network.com, where there's a ton of great Star Wars shows. There's a ton of great variety shows there too, not just Star Wars, so make sure to check out everything that the Red 5 Network has to offer. Next week, we are doing our 40th show, which is pretty cool, and we're getting back to Thank the Maker, and so that's going to be episode 4, A New Hope. So check out A New Hope this week if you want to discuss that with us next week and talk about some behind-the-scenes facts and stories from A New Hope. You can find me on Twitter at thegauze85. That's where I do all my non-Star Wars stuff and then mix some Star Wars into there as well. Josh, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at JediJarJar1722 and occasionally writing articles for StarWarsNewsNet.com. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us today, live in the chat or listening later. We wouldn't be here without you guys, and we thank you so much for being a part of this community. And we look forward to being back for our 40th episode next week, so stay tuned for that and for our weekly poll. And 40 seems to be a big number in Star Wars lately. We celebrate these 40th anniversaries, so looking forward to our 40th episode. But until then, just remember that everything we said today was true.
From a certain point of view. And that's a wrap.
Excellent. Yeah, even like seeing my video on the screen of myself, it's like blurry. So I don't know what.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit of a blur. I don't know. It must be Comcast or whatever. They must be having some
probably
issues, which isn't a surprise. So.
Right. Well, at least we made it through.
Yeah, we made it through. I'll be able to edit it and work some magic. And I only asked you to repeat whenever it got real bad. So.
Right.
But the rest of the stuff I'll be able to stitch.
Yeah, sorry about that if that was on my end or something, but
that's all right. I don't think it's your fault. It's like I said, it's definitely Comcast. Hey Chris, happy birthday. That's exciting.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Chris King will be on Holocron House at 4:15. So make sure you tune in for that. Or is that, am I reading that wrong? I thought maybe that might have been Michael telling him about Holocron House. Either way, Holocron House at 4:15.
There you go.
Cool. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap the stream here. I got some stuff to take care of around the house. So
Sounds good.
Thanks everyone for
everybody.
tuning in. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate it, bud. I'll see you later this evening. And yeah, that'll do it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you had a great time. We'll see you again next week. May the Force
see you soon.